Morning light spills through the cafe windows, painting everything in soft gold. Ella Moreno wipes the counter, lost in the rhythm of clinking cups and murmured hellos. The door chimes, and in walks Nathan Cole, composed, polished, unaware of the quiet storm his presence brings. She greets him like any other customer, her voice steady though her heart stirs. As she hands him his usual coffee, his gaze drops to the small gold necklace resting above her apron. The letters engraved there, M. Moreno. Pull at something buried in his memory. For a heartbeat, silence thickens between. He blinks, confused, then looks up with a polite smile, but she sees it, that flicker of recognition, faint yet undeniable. And as he turns to leave, the light flickers too, as if the air itself remembers what he did. The cafe hum fades into memory as Ella recalls the day everything changed. She was 17, standing in the rain outside the factory gates, watching her father's shoulders sag beneath his soaked jacket. Nathan Cole's name was on the letter that ended his job. 20 years of loyalty, dismissed in a single paragraph. That night, the house smelled of wet earth and silence. Her father didn't speak, just folded the letter and placed it in a drawer he never opened again. From that day, Ella promised herself she would never let anyone see her break. Back in the present, Nathan sits in his black car, coffee untouched. He can't shake the feeling that he's seen that name before. The taste of guilt seeps in like a bitter aftertaste. He scrolls through his phone, pretending to read emails, but his mind drifts to the years when layoffs were just numbers. Names he never thought he'd see again. Now, one of them has a face, a voice, a quiet presence that unsettles him more than he wants to admit. The next morning, Ella feels him watching her again. His eyes soften this time, not with curiosity but remorse. She senses it, though neither says a word. As she prepares his drink, her hands move with practiced calm, yet her pulse hammers beneath the quiet. When she hands him the cup, their fingers almost touch. In that almost lies everything: anger, forgiveness, and a history neither asked for. When Nathan leaves, the storm begins. Rain smears the city glass, and thunder rolls like memory made sound. Ella stands at the window, watching his figure fade into the mist. Under her breath, she whispers her father's name, not in anger but in quiet remembrance. A flicker of lightning lights up the gold letters on her necklace. Somewhere far off, the wind carries a voice she once thought she'd forgotten. Nathan can't sleep. His penthouse feels hollow, every tick of the clock echoing through glass and marble. He walks to the window, looking down at the city that once made him feel powerful. Now it just feels distant. He sees his reflection, same eyes, same face, but behind them, a memory flickers. The day he signed a stack of layoffs, convincing himself it was necessary. He remembers one man's name, Marco Moreno. The name stings now, cutting through the illusion that it was all just business. For the first time in years, Nathan feels something he's tried to bury: shame. At the cafe, Ella hums softly as she cleans the counter, trying to steady her thoughts. Every day he comes in, calm and polite, pretending not to notice the weight between them. She doesn't hate him. She's not sure she can. But sometimes she wonders if people like Nathan ever think about what happens after they sign their names. Her coworker, Mara, nudges her, teasing that the suit guy seems different lately. Ella just smiles faintly, eyes drifting to the rain outside, where reflections of the past ripple in puddles. Nathan sits in his office, surrounded by towering glass and polished metal. The city stretches beneath him, but his mind is elsewhere. He opens an old digital archive and types a name he hasn't seen in years. Marco Moreno. The file loads. A brief note. A termination record, a signature that feels heavier now than the entire skyline. Nathan stares at his own name under the words, approved by. For the first time, The man who prided himself on control feels powerless. In the small apartment she shares with her father, Ella sets 2 mugs on the table. Marco sits quietly, eyes tired but kind. He's grown thinner since the factory days, but his spirit hasn't faded. They talk about little things: groceries, the weather, her shifts. Yet, under every word lingers what's never said: the name of the man who changed their lives. When Marco looks at her necklace, he smiles softly, unaware of who she's been serving coffee to each morning. That night, Nathan drives aimlessly through the rain, the wipers smearing city lights into long ribbons of color. He stops at a red light and sees his reflection in the glass of a bus stop. Fractured, double, like 2 men inside one body. One who fired a father, one who took coffee from his daughter. He exhales deeply, as if the sound alone could confess what he never said aloud. Somewhere, in the rhythm of the rain, he hears the echo of a voice asking, "Do you remember the names?" Morning breaks pale and cold. Nathan stands before the mirror, tie half fastened, his reflection a stranger in a life built from choices he no longer defends. The image of Ella's necklace flashes in his mind, the engraving, the way her eyes avoided his. He can't let it go. Something in that look demands truth. Before heading to work, he sends a quiet message to his assistant: "Find everything you can on Marco Moreno's family." He hesitates, thumb hovering over the send button, then presses it. The act feels heavier than signing any contract. In the cafe, Ella feels the air shift before he enters. Nathan arrives late, slower today, his usual brisk pace replaced by quiet uncertainty. He doesn't look at her right away. She takes his order without a word, heart pounding though her face remains calm. As she hands him the cup, their eyes meet, a flicker, an almost. She wonders if he knows now. The moment stretches, suspended between guilt and grace, until a customer's voice cuts through it. He nods in thanks and steps away, but something about him has changed. Hours later, Nathan's assistant slides a file onto his desk. A simple folder, unmarked, yet heavier than anything he's ever read. Inside, records, dates, and a single photo. A young girl standing beside a man in a factory uniform, smiling proudly. Marco Moreno and his daughter, Ella. Nathan's throat tightens. He recognizes her instantly. The memory of her serving him coffee feels cruel now, undeserved. He presses a hand over his mouth, the truth pressing back like weight on his chest. He leans back in his chair, eyes fixed on the ceiling. Every justification he once gave himself: necessity, profit, survival, sounds hollow now. He remembers Marco's face, vaguely, the quiet man who didn't argue when the papers came. Nathan had admired that silence once, mistaking it for weakness. Now he knows it was dignity. The truth settles like dust in sunlight, quiet, inescapable, and full of regret. That night, he sits in his car outside the cafe, engine off, rain ticking against the windshield. Inside, Ella wipes tables, unaware he's watching. He rehearses words he is not sure he deserves to say. "I'm sorry" feels too small, too late. Still, he stays there, waiting, maybe for courage, maybe for forgiveness that won't come. When she looks up and catches his gaze through the glass, he freezes. She doesn't flinch, doesn't smile, just meets his eyes, steady and knowing. And for the first time, Nathan feels truly seen. The next morning, the cafe is quieter than usual. Rain whispers against the windows, soft but unrelenting. Ella arranges cups on the shelf, pretending not to notice the familiar black sedan parked outside. When Nathan finally enters, the bell above the door seems louder than ever. He stands at the counter, unsure how to begin. She looks up, her eyes calm but distant, as if she's been waiting. "Morning," she says softly. He nods, voice caught somewhere between apology and fear. The silence stretches, filled with everything neither of them has said for years. He clears his throat, setting his coffee down without drinking it. Your father. Marco Moreno, he begins, his voice uneven. Ella freezes, her fingers tightening around a cup. For a moment, all the old anger she buried flickers alive. But instead of rage, what comes is something heavier, understanding. She looks at him steadily, eyes bright yet composed. You remember him now? She asks. Nathan nods, unable to speak. The cafe hum fades away, leaving only two people facing the truth. I remember, Nathan finally says. He was quiet. He didn't fight the decision. His words break like fragile glass. Ella sets the cup down, her hands trembling only slightly. He didn't fight because he thought you were doing what you had to, she says. He respected that, even when it cost him everything. Nathan's gaze drops. I told myself it was business, he mutters, the words small, almost childish now. Maybe it was, she replies softly, but it was also someone's life. The air feels different after that, heavier, yet somehow cleaner. The conversation drifts into silence. Nathan looks up, eyes glassy with regret. I wanted to say, I'm sorry, he whispers. The words tremble, as if afraid of their own sound. Ella exhales slowly. I think he forgave you long before I could, she says. Nathan frowns, surprised. He forgave me? She nods. He said the world makes men choose between kindness and survival. He hoped you'd someday choose kindness. Her voice cracks at the edges, but she keeps her gaze steady. Nathan looks away, swallowing hard, the truth cutting through him more sharply than blame ever could. When Nathan finally leaves, the bell above the door rings softly, echoing like a sigh. Ella stands motionless, her reflection caught in the glass where he once stood. The rain has eased, leaving the world washed clean. She touches her necklace gently, the name warm against her skin. Outside, Nathan pauses beneath the awning, looking back once, not for her forgiveness, but for a final moment of truth. Their eyes meet through the window, no anger, no words, only the quiet understanding that sometimes forgiveness is not spoken but seen. The rain has stopped by the next morning, but the air feels heavy, as if holding its breath. Ella sits on the edge of her bed, sunlight creeping through the blinds in pale stripes. She opens an old wooden box on her dresser. Her father's keepsakes. Inside lies a folded letter with Nathan's name written on it, never sent. She reads the first lines, her hands trembling. It isn't bitter. It isn't angry. It's a letter of understanding. Her father thanking the man who ended his job for teaching him something about grace. Ella presses the paper to her chest and closes her eyes, whispering, You always forgave faster than I could. At the cafe, the morning rush feels normal again, but something inside Ella has shifted. Nathan doesn't come that day, and she finds herself glancing at the door more than she wants to admit. She brews a cup of coffee for no one, setting it gently on the counter beside her. The smell reminds her of her father's laugh, of mornings before everything fell apart. For the first time, she feels ready, not to forget, but to let go. Meanwhile, Nathan sits at his desk, the photo of Marco and Ella still in front of him. He hasn't touched his coffee. His assistant had asked if he was feeling all right. He had no answer. He rereads Marco's termination file, realizing it's more than paper. It's a wound. He remembers the man's quiet dignity, the calm eyes that met his, even as he signed the order. Nathan whispers, I should have seen you. For once, his voice breaks completely. That evening, Ella visits her father's grave for the first time in months. The cemetery is quiet, grass damp from the rain. She kneels beside the stone, placing a cup of black coffee on the ground. His favorite. He remembered you, she whispers, and I think he's sorry. The wind picks up, gentle, brushing through her hair like a familiar touch. She smiles faintly. I think you'd tell me to forgive him, she says softly. So I will. As Ella walks home, The streetlights blink on one by one. She looks up and sees Nathan standing across the street, waiting but not approaching. Their eyes meet under the hum of the lights. He doesn't speak. He only nods. A quiet thank you. She returns the nod. And for the first time, the past feels light enough to carry. The wind carries the faint aroma of roasted coffee through the air, warm and forgiving. A week passes. Nathan arrives at his office early, the city still waking outside his window. On his desk sits a small, unmarked envelope delivered through the company's internal mail. He frowns, turning it over, seeing handwriting he doesn't recognize. Inside is a single sheet of paper, the ink slightly faded but carefully written. The first line stops him cold. "If you're reading this, then I am gone." Signed, Marco Moreno. Nathan's breath catches. His hands shake as he begins to read. The letter unfolds like a voice from another time. Marco writes not with anger, but reflection. He tells Nathan he understood the decision, that life sometimes breaks good men under the weight of hard choices. "I don't blame you," the letter reads. "I only hope one day you'll see people, not policies." Nathan's eyes fill. He reads those words again and again, feeling something inside him finally crack. For the first time in years, he doesn't feel like a CEO. He feels human. Later that day, Nathan sits in his car outside the old factory where Marco once worked. It's quiet now, shuttered, its walls cracked and covered in ivy. He steps out, running a hand along the cold metal gate, the memory of that day heavy in the air. "I thought I was doing what leaders do," he whispers, voice trembling. "But I wasn't leading, I was surviving." He pulls the letter from his coat and looks toward the empty lot. "You saw me better than I saw myself." That evening, Ella receives a phone call from the cafe manager. "Someone left this for you," he says. When she arrives, a sealed envelope rests on the counter. Her name is written in Nathan's careful handwriting. She hesitates before opening it. Inside, she finds a copy of her father's letter, and a handwritten note beneath it. "He forgave me, long before I deserved it. Thank you for letting me see him again through you." Her eyes fill as she presses the paper to her heart. Died. Nathan drives through the city that night, windows down, the cold air cutting clean through the weight in his chest. He parks near the river and steps out, holding Marco's letter one last time. The skyline flickers across the water, alive and restless. He folds the letter carefully, places it in the wind, and lets it go. The paper lifts, caught by the current, drifting into the darkness. Nathan watches until it disappears, whispering, "Thank you, Marco." Months pass. The world moves quietly on, but something in both of them has changed. Nathan stands in a sunlit conference hall, speaking softly to a small group of employees. Behind him, a sign reads, "The Marco Moreno Foundation." His voice is steady, humble. "This is for the people who remind us that humanity is not a weakness. It's the reason we build anything at all." The audience claps gently, but Nathan doesn't smile. He simply bows his head, feeling the weight of gratitude and a brief, imperfect balance. Across town, Ella brews coffee like every morning, but the world feels gentler now. The cafe hums with laughter and light chatter. She looks up at the photo pinned behind the counter. Her father smiling in his factory uniform, standing beside a younger her. Next to it, a small newspaper clipping announces Nathan's foundation in her father's name. For the first time, she feels peace instead of pain when she sees his face. The smell of coffee fills the air, warm and forgiving. That afternoon, Nathan visits the cafe again. He stands at the counter, hands clasped, waiting quietly as Ella finishes with another customer. When she turns to him, there's no hesitation this time. She smiles. A real, small, human smile, and says, "Good to see you, Mr. Cole." He nods. Good to be seen. For a moment, they simply stand there, two people bound by loss and learning. She places a cup in front of him without asking his order. It's on the house, she says. Nathan takes the coffee and sits by the window. Outside, the city moves with gentle rhythm, buses sighing, people laughing, life unbroken. He takes a sip, savoring the warmth. He glances up to see Ella wiping tables, her gold necklace glinting in the light. For the first time, he doesn't see the name as a reminder of what he took, but of what he was given. A second chance to be human. Evening falls. The cafe is quiet again. Only the hum of the espresso machine and the fading glow of sunset. Ella wipes the last table, then looks out the window toward the street where her father once walked home, tired but proud. She smiles faintly and whispers, "We're okay now." A single beam of golden light falls across the counter as she sets down one last cup of coffee, the same way she did that first morning. Outside, the world hums on. But inside, everything feels whole.